there, Laura Wilson from Gold Star Work here. Today I'm going to talk to you about glazing with acrylic paints. Now, no matter whether you're a beginner painter or you're a bit more advanced, if you haven't used glazing before, or you've used it and you just can't figure it out, or you don't know what else to use it for apart from what the obvious things are, I'm going to show you a few ways that I use glazing on my paintings. I'll show you a few paintings and how I've used the glazing on there, and I'll also show you a couple of examples of doing the glazing in this video, and I'll give you some good tips and tricks on how to use it. So let's go get started. So first off, I first came across glazing when I was doing watercolours many years ago, and so when I do watercolours way back then, I used to use glazing for my watercolour paintings, where you build up the different layers of paint and let the paint underneath show through the layers to make your transition colours, and so you can get really glowing colours. I'm not sure if the colour's really showing up properly on there because this picture's got glass on it and you might not be able to see the glowing colour quite as much. I'll put the watercolour poppy in a different spot as well. The colours still aren't as vibrant as what you see in real life, but they might be a bit brighter, so you can get an idea of what I was talking about. You can also build up to make your vibrant flowers with acrylic glazes. This is how I've done the poppies here. And so like the watercolour poppy, I've done the same kind of thing, except I've used painting medium and acrylic paint, building up the colours from light to dark. These poppies here and these painting demonstrations I was doing are also all done with glazes in various reds, and this is the acrylic painting. So here's my watercolour painting. Because it's in glass, you get a bit of a reflection, and so you can get nice deep rich colours doing glazing with acrylic. It doesn't have to be oil, doesn't have to be watercolour to get that same effect. These days, with all the great mediums out there, you can do all sorts of great things with your acrylic paint. So with my Napsol red light and my clear painting medium, I'm going to mix those together to glaze over these flowers. So I'll leave a link down in the description if you're interested in buying this clear painting medium. It's one I use all the time in my paintings and find very useful. So I've put a little bit on my plate, so that's the clear painting medium and the paint, and I'm just going to mix a little bit of it together. So if I want it more opaque, I just put more paint in it, and if I want it more transparent, I mix in more glaze. And I can do that on the picture before it dries, as well as on my plate, so just get a kind of a bit of a mixture going. The same thing here, I've just mixed my clear painting medium with some of my permanent alizarin. Green, and mix that with my alizarin crimson. So this makes a really dark colour. So you can get an almost black colour. Now I don't want an almost black colour at the moment, but you can get a beautiful black colour. I use this colour when I'm doing ladybirds and things. And I'm going to mix a bit more of the red into it, just to make a really dark red. And then I'm going to use the clear painting medium again and share that colour out, just like a really dark purple. And when you can use that same method that you use with watercolour with acrylic paint as well. Now, most people who will give you advice on glazing with acrylic are oil painters I have found so far, because they're used to glazing with oil paintings, and traditionally this is how the old masters used to do it. So they would do their painting in the background all in a tonal colour. You may have seen the video of me doing this in one of my Building a Daily Art habit. So I'd done all the background in a tonal study, and then I went over with the coloured glazes to build up the colour of these apples. And this is how the old masters used to often paint, building up the colour in that way. So that's the traditional way you use glazes, and you can do that just as easily with acrylic paint. That's what this is. So this abstract was also done using glazing. So this was done in a traditional type of manner, where I did the black and white study at the beginning, and then I went over with glazes of colour to make all the vibrant colour around it using glazing medium and different coloured paints, and building up the colours to make your transition shades. You might get a better idea of the colours if I stick it on the table as well on this one. So this one I've used a mixture of doing the gesso, which is the white, and some black paint, and I've done kind of a drippy kind of watery look to it, and then I've glazed over the top with lots of different colours. And this one's got a lot of layers on it because there was a lot of toing and froing, so I would glaze over it. And what I was finding, if I got too dark, I'd add some more gesso area, which would completely cover it up, which is what this is back here, some of the background stuff. And then I've done some over the top again, and then glazed more colour on. You can also use glazes to really intensify a colour. So here's a couple of little examples that I did of some sunset paintings that I was planning. So these are some little colour studies, and in this one it's a lot duller, and in this one I've glazed over with some bright yellow paint, and you can see how much brighter this sun is compared to over here. So it's a really good way to intensify the colour that you're using. And you can also use glazing to help warm up a picture. When I originally did this picture, I was having trouble getting enough light in this area of the painting that I wanted it, and I'd added so much white paint into it that it looked quite chalky and dull. So what I did is I glazed over it with a yellow glaze, and it just warmed the whole picture up. But I think I could even put a little bit more in places, and I'm going to show you how I do that on here. You need to think about what type of effect you're trying to get, because some paints are transparent. This one's called transparent yellow, so that's a bit easy to tell what it is. But on my paint tubes, if you can see that, it's got a little circle. This one's clear. This yellow here the circle is coloured in, and that means it's an opaque colour. So when you paint this over a colour, you shouldn't be able to see the underneath colour very much. Whereas this one that's transparent, when you paint this over another paint, you'll be able to see the colour underneath shining through the yellow. So if you've got some red paint underneath and you go over with the yellow, you'll get an orangey tint. So that's something to consider when you're looking at your paint, to see how transparent or how opaque it is. Some of them, they say it's semi-transparent. I use clear painting medium for my medium for glazing. Now you can use a gloss medium, or you can use a matte medium, or you can actually use what they call a painting medium. Or you can use what they actually call a glazing medium. Now Atelier does have a glazing medium as well, but I haven't actually got that because I find my clear painting medium works perfectly well for the way I want to use glazes, and then I only need one medium for a lot of my painting. I don't have to have several bottles of different things, so I like that. So this will work really well for glazing as well. I understand that the glazing medium will level out better on your painting, so you're less likely to have trouble with brush strokes and things showing, but I don't have a problem with that for what I do with it. I just make sure that I use a soft brush. So you don't use your stiff bristle brushes. That was a bit of a tongue twister. Your stiff bristle brushes for glazing, you use your nice soft brushes for that. What I do, and what I find is a very useful exercise, and I would suggest that you give it a go too, is you get all of your paints out and you do a little colour chart. Now on this side that's just the colour of the paint, and I've washed it out with some water just to show what it looks like, because the paint colours can change a little as they dilute a bit. And then I've done a strip of black, and I've just painted straight paint with nothing in it across with all the different colours in my yellow, and you can see which ones are more opaque and which ones go over the paint and you can still see the black. So this is the transparent yellow here, which is really transparent, and this is the yellow ochre here, and you can see the yellow ochre, and if that was thicker paint you can see how it would cover up that black altogether, and like the brown obviously covers up the black because it's a darker colour. So the phthalo turquoise is a very transparent colour. Let's see if I can zoom you in so you can see a bit better. So you can see how you can see the black showing through, but where this one here, the cerulean blue, that's the cerulean blue hue, little bit transparent but mostly opaque, but the cerulean blue normal one is covering up the paint completely. And as you go down you can see how transparent some of the colours are. So you can see here that these top colours that have the cadmium colours are quite opaque, whereas when you come down and you're into the permanent alizarin is a very transparent red, and the quinacridone magenta is a very transparent red, and the naphthol red is also very transparent here. So you can see the difference. If I wanted a mid-tone red and I wanted it to be really transparent, then I would choose this one rather than the cadmium red medium, because they're very similar in colour, but one's a lot more transparent than the other. The same with the cadmium red light. See, this one is quite opaque, whereas this one down the bottom you can see the black shining through a lot more, and that's the naphthol red light, so that one's a lot more transparent. So for my poppies, when I want the colour to show through underneath, I'll glaze on top with this one rather than the cadmium red light. So I've just popped a bit of glazing medium on my plate and a bit of the yellow ochre paint. Now the yellow ochre paint is an opaque colour, and I can mix it in with my glazing medium, and that's going to work for what I want to do. If I was doing a sunset, I would be using a transparent yellow, but for this one I don't mind that it's an opaque colour. And then I can just glaze over the top in the areas that I want. Now it's going to be fairly subtle on here, so you're not going to see a huge difference. And that's what you want. You want to just build it up in subtle layers. And if you put it on, so say I put it on there, and I didn't actually want it on there, while it's still wet, if you just try and wipe it off with a brush and some water, it doesn't really do a very good job. But if you put your glazing medium on there, you can get all the extra spread out and off. So you can dilute the paint as you go if you don't want hard edges and things. And although the glazing medium looks quite milky, it will dry completely clear, so you don't have to worry about that showing up and covering up your painting. So I'm just going over that grass area a bit. And so you can see how with the glazing, all the undercolour is coming through, but it's just warming it up. So it is quite subtle, but it does make a difference. Now one of the things you want to do when you're glazing is dry in between layers. You don't want to glaze on top of wet glaze, because then your glazes will just get muddied up. So you do need to dry them in between. Okay, so I've actually moved the painting because I'm having a lot of trouble showing the colour in the lighting in my studio this afternoon with the sun coming in. Now it's washed out some of the greens and things, but they are actually there, but it shows the yellow a little bit better of the glaze. So you can see how this is warmed up around here and around here, the glaze, and then it highlights this path a little more going through there. So it looks very subtle on camera, and it is subtle, but it actually shows up more in real life. If I come way up here, it shows up a bit more. As I get closer to the painting, the camera washes it out a bit. You can get an idea there. I want to show you the difference between using a transparent yellow and that more opaque yellow that I used on the other one. So on this one, if I wanted to make this a lot brighter, I would use my transparent yellow this time and put my glazing medium, or in my case, my clear painting medium. I'm going to use the same brush I used last time, just making sure it hasn't got too much water in it, and mix a little bit of that colour in with the glazing medium. So you can see I didn't use very much paint there, and I can go over this sunset. Now I don't have to go over the whole lot, just in the areas that I want brightened up, and you can see straight away the difference that colour is making, how much brighter that is looking to what it was before. Here's something else you can do with glazes, is painting the bubbles. That's how I've done those, with the clear painting medium and transparent colours. I've also used glazing on this painting here, where I've been doing the coloured clouds in the night sky. So after the base coat and doing the white, and the white's been faded out with some painting medium for the glazing, and then I've gone over with the glaze over the clouds to make the colours on the clouds. And this is also the method I use for my Galaxy Girls. So the Galaxy Girls are also done with glazing. So in this case I've done a black background and then I've put some light colour over the top and then used my glazing medium and my colours to paint in the colour for that glowing colour. And sometimes I've gone straight over the dark areas with the glaze, with the colour without any light underneath, and it gives a more subtle look, but it just blends her dress into the black background. So there's another way you can use glazing. So I hope that little tutorial on glazing was helpful. I've also got a supporting blog for this, which might go into a bit more detail on different ways you can use glazing and a bit of detail on how I do it. If you want to read that, I will link that down in the description box for you. And that's free painting tips. So I send out a newsletter with free painting tips on there on my blog. So if you'd like to sign up for that, then just head on over there and do that, and I'll leave the link down there for that as well. And so I hope you all enjoyed that, and happy painting everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.